welcome to the We Age Graceful podcast. And I'm your host, Kelly. Today we're going to be talking about navigating midlife. So, as you guys know, I'm a woman in my 40s, my late 40s to be exact. We ain't going to share the exact age. Most of you may know, some of you that follow me. But I just want to talk about this like navigating midlife. There's a lot of things that women go through that people don't really pay attention to. And they may do, but I just want to share some things on. I want to talk about like hormonal changes and things like that. Like I've experienced like fibroids and things like that and going through PMS, all these different things. But I want to hit on a few. And before I hit on a few, I want to just have a little quick, candid conversation before we get into the main topic. We don't want to speed right into things. But how are you guys doing? What's going on? And how's life treating you? And what is something that you did today that made you feel good? Sometimes we're so focused on just moving fast and doing our regular normal routine. If it's getting up, brushing our teeth, getting dressed, and going to work and coming home, tending to the kids, tending to the husband, tending to the whomever, making dinner, and then doing it all over again. But what have you done for your actual self? So think about it. Let me know. Leave it in the comments so we can kind of talk about it. But let's get into it. First, I want to talk about hormonal changes. Like when I went through, I had two fibroid surgeries because my fibroids grew back, and plus my fibroids were halfway in, like in the lining of my uterus. So that makes it really difficult for you to go and have a procedure and to have your actual fibroids to be removed. You still got some left in the uterus, so it can definitely grow back. Even if you have an ablation where they're burning your uterus, it can still grow back. It feeds off of blood. Cysts, PMS, menopause, like the changes that our bodies go through with the hormones, y'all. Like right now, I feel like I'm in like perimenopause. That's how you say it? I think that's how you say it. Like it's like you're starting out, you're not quite there yet, but you're there. Estrogen, that decreases as we get older. I think, I'm not a, health expert by any means. It's me learning and me going through it. Things that's going on with my body. I'm just, experiencing it as well. But like your estrogen levels drop. I guess it comes from I guess your menstrual. If we got any health experts out here, correct me, let me know. But your estrogen level drops and things like that. And then the ultimate, the hysterectomy. I never forget when I was going through my fibroids. I had well, I still have them. They grew back, but right now they're not bothering me. But I do still get like heavy menstruals. The hysterectomy thing, y'all. Talk to me. I wanted to get a hysterectomy so bad. And it's so funny because I remember like hearing stories of women not wanting to get hysterectomies, and the doctors would want to gut them out immediately so they wouldn't, produce. But my doctor did not want to give me a hysterectomy, knowing what I was going through. And he was like, no, because you don't have a son and you've never been married before. Like, now you're going to let my uterus be in control of a whole man? Are you kidding me? So he didn't want to give me a hysterectomy, but now seeing, besides his theory, I don't want to push myself into menopause just yet. But I still get hot flashes and little things. I'm going through the baby steps right now, and you can go through that and for years. You can go through that for years. Um, yeah, but there's so many different things that happen to women when you're like in this midlife, you know. And the crazy part about it, we can live, and not just saying, women and men, but life expectancy now has increased versus back then. I want to say like the boomers and whatnot, but they feel like us Gen Xers or the Gen Z and the Alphas are gonna live forever. You know, I really feel like it all depends on how you care for yourself, because I've had people in my family from the silent generation to the boomers that are still with us today. So I really feel like how they're gauging it is probably gauged on, I don't even know. them people that we get in the mail, them Social Security papers that tell us when we can retire, when we can pull our Social Security out. Crazy. But before I get into all these other concerns that, we deal with, if you are into like beauty and lifestyle, I do have a YouTube channel and it's called I Am Keli B. And come on over there, hang out with your girl. I'll leave all the links and everything to my YouTube channel in the description box so you can definitely check it out and come hang out with your girl. But let's get into these host of concerns that happen when you're starting to age and you get to like that midlife. You know, sometimes you start thinking about self-worth. Where am I at this point in my life? Start feeling like, have you accomplished you want to accomplish? Do you want to accomplish more? Like the sudden anxiety. I know I experienced it. I'm not gonna hold you. Um, Identity crisis. Everybody career changes. I know for a fact I've changed my career. I was still within the same, career within finance, but I changed, just to kind of get a fresh look on things, kind of stay up to date. Just impulsive behavior, going through death. Think about it. I remember being young and my mother would always go to funerals and always tag me along to funerals. And now here I am, and now I'm going to funerals. I'm not tagging my kids along, but it's like, it's amazing how when you're young, you're not thinking about any of this stuff. And then when you get to that point in your life, that midlife, you're like, wow, I'm going through the same thing. The same thing. Um, yeah, and the list can go on, but you know what I realized? Going through anxiety, going through self worth, and these different things, you have to figure out ways to deal with all of this because it can take a toll on you. What I've done throughout the years, and for those of you who may know of me from my YouTube channel, I talk highly about therapy. Therapy will take you a long way. When I tell you, oh my God, therapy has gotten me through a lot. Therapy has calmed me down a lot. Um, I used to be a individual where I would think of something and it never even happened, but I already done made the whole story up in my head. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what happened. But meanwhile, it never happened. But journaling, I don't journal as much as I used to. I think I journaled before just to kind of get things off my head and, just to not keep things bogged down. And if you hear me kind of stuffy, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. But meditation, that's something that, I struggle with. I think it's really important. But meditation, I struggle with because the focus, you know. I've had one session where I actually zoned out and it felt so good. And after that, it was like I'm thinking about what to cook for dinner, what to get at the grocery store. My mind is on 100 different million things. Um, how else I deal with all these different changes that I be thinking about? My friend groups is small. I never really had a bunch of friends to begin with. Um, Having daily gratitude, exercise, having a hobby. Hint, hint, hint. Our lovely podcast. And your diet. Your diet is, very, very important. Your diet can affect so many different things, your health, your mood. Think about how, you know, our families back in the day may have ate a lot of fried food. That was easy. That was a way to feed a big family. You fry a bunch of food. And, that can mess with everything. And for me, how I deal with all these different things that I'm going through in my midlife and how I'm navigating self care and self love. I really just focus on myself. I control what I can and not what I can't. I mean, just being full transparent. I can't be concerned with what somebody else thinks of me. And in addition to that, when a person wants to tell me whatever they want to tell me, I just listen. I don't be defensive anymore. I don't react anymore. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to change nothing. Their thought is their thought. Let them get it off their chest, and then you don't hear it anymore. So, yeah, I just, focus on myself. and some other aging processes that we go through. But in addition to navigating this good old midlife, you know, we go through like the aging process, like at that midpoint, like that 40. Sometimes depending on where you are, like maybe even at 35, you might start feeling some different aches and pains. Let me know if you with me with this one. Brain fog. Now that goes with the damn excuse me, that goes with the menopause. Um Memory loss, all the different things. Like, just aging, just aging in general. That's what I think about. This is kind of like a little bit not so much with health, but like I think about retirement. I look at my mom and how she worked in the health system and she's with the union. You don't really see too much of unions anymore. You see that more so like in labor fields and whatnot. But her retirement, she worked. And back then you worked at the same job for so many years. You didn't change. Me, uh, I, yeah, I don't even want to get into that. We want to keep work out of this for now. But I think about retirement, making sure I'm well established, got my ducks in a row and whatnot. Let me know what you think about that as well. Do you have your ducks in a row, or you still have time if you don't? What is your plan and how you plan on navigating and getting that taken care of? And last but not least, I got here. I wrote some things down. I want to kind of stay on target here. And also things that change that we really don't pay attention to because we think like this is not a part of the aging process. But believe it or not, friends and family change as you get older. And I'm a firm believer in career. It's me sitting here reflecting on my past. You know, just because your family, if somebody's doing you wrong, if you're a friend, if you feel like you're not being treated the way you want to be treated or whatever case may be, sometimes friends can treat you better than your own family. I'm going in a different direction at this point, but I don't want to veer off. I want to kind of stay, but just to kind of stay focused. As you age, something we don't think about is our friend circle and our family. That can change as we age as well. And that is okay. There's no need to look at like, oh, me and my family, we fell out, whatever, or me and my friends, we don't speak anymore, or we grew apart or whatever. People lives change and it's okay. It's okay to make new friends as an adult, as you age, people, it's okay. And it's okay to keep your same friends, if that permits, it's okay. But I just wanted to have the conversation about navigating through midlife because here I am, I'm a woman, I'll share. I'm the good old 47, and I feel like these last 3 years, especially like during the pandemic, so much light has been shined on so many different areas of my life. From relationships to family to friends to work, even as me being a parent, me being a daughter, things have just changed and things have just been highlighted. So I want to, talk about that. And, so it's just safe to say that navigating midlife isn't easy. Just to think life expectancy change and new generations evolve. Look, Gen Z, Alpha. So let's continue this conversation in the comments. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I enjoyed talking with you guys and gonna keep the conversation going. And just thank you. And I'll see you in the next episode.